Hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. My name's Ricky and this is Cover to Cover, and I am so excited because today I get to talk about my favorite book series of all time. Now, the first video I posted on this channel introducing myself and the channel and what everything's going to be about in my reading journey, I kind of just want to, tell you a little bit about myself. I'll leave a link in the description. Then I realized, oh wait, yeah, I got to start doing book reviews. And so I thought, man, what should the first book review on my channel be? And then it hit me. Of course, it should be my favorite series of all time. One of my favorite books of all time. We're going to start with the first one. This is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. All right, I'm so excited, you guys. I am so passionate about this series. These books are so fucking amazing, and I'm here to tell you why, if you haven't read it already. So here's how it's going to work. This video is going to be split into two sections. The first section is going to be the non-spoiler section for any of you who haven't read Mistborn yet. I'm going to be, vague. I'm not going to spoil anything, any plot details. I'm just going to tell you what the plot, the basic plot of the book is, tell you about some of the characters, basically the world and how the magic system works. The second half of the video is going to be going more in depth, talking about spoilers, talking about different specific plot points. I got my notes. Got a bunch of notes here. So yeah, because I got a lot to talk about, and I was not about to wing that shit. So, Mistborn, Brandon Sanderson. This book is a fantasy book that takes place in this land called the Final Empire, and the land is ruled by this asshole, disgusting tyrant who people claim to be immortal. They call him the Lord Ruler, and he rules over the land. And basically, the people in the land are separated into two starkly divided classes. You have the rich noblemen, and you have the poor working class. They're basically slaves. They call them the Ska. The majority of this story takes place in the capital of the Final Empire called Luthadel. It's this big sprawling city full of nobles and Ska, different slums and rich neighborhoods and whatnot. I'll tell you right now, the one thing, this is what makes Mistborn so great. It's one thing specifically, and that's the magic system. Brandon Sanderson has created this unique way of telling magic in fantasy stories that didn't used to happen a lot. Most fantasy stories before Sanderson came along were what we call soft magic systems, where there's not many like hard rules, not things about the magic aren't exactly like explained. You don't ask why Gandalf is a wizard. Gandalf is just a wizard, right? But he has something called a hard magic system, where it's basically this system of magic where people have these powers. I'm gonna explain how the magic system here works. It's so fucking cool. I cannot wait to talk about it. There's very specific rules. There's a framework and a structure to how the magic system works and how the powers and the people within it work. The magic system in this series is called allomancy. Basically how it works is certain rare people are born with the ability to gain powers from metals. What happens is they can ingest a certain metal and they can burn it inside of themselves, and it gives them one specific power. So there's basically 8 different core metals. Most people who are born allomancers, we call them mistings. They're born with just one ability. For instance, if you're born a soother, someone who soothes people's emotions, you burn brass. And when you're born with the ability to burn just brass. You can't burn anything else. But then there's these even more rare people that are born with the ability to do all the metals. They can burn all the different metals. So as an allomancer, you either only have the ability to do one, or you can do all of them. It's super cool. Basically, you have different metals for different powers, and it's not powers the way you would think they do it. He does it in a very unique way, to where, for instance, you have steel and iron, right? Steel, when you ingest steel as an allomancer, instead of just giving you the ability to fly or levitate or something, it gives you the ability to push off of other metals around you. So for instance, I could be falling from the sky to the ground. I could throw a coin to the ground. I could push off of it and use that to stay in the air and go forward. So it's not like giving you the power to fly, but steel and iron pull So if you can burn iron, you can pull on other metals. So like you can pull yourself to the top of a building. There's a lot of intricacies, certain details about how the magic system works. It would take me forever to go into it. I know it does seem a little complicated, this magic system, and it is, but Sanderson has this brilliant way of, instead of just info dumping everything and just taking a massive shit of exposition right into your mouth all at once, he kind of just reveals like the certain rules and how the magic system works in little pieces here and there as you're going along in the story. Our POV character, her name's Vin. She's basically what I would consider the main character of the book. She is this young 16-year-old girl. She grew up on the streets of Luthadel. She's worked in different like thieving crews. She's a thief basically. And she finds out later on that she is a Mistborn, right? Title of the book, Mistborn. She's a Mistborn. What I love about Vin as a character is that she is a great and realistic representation of what mental illness is like. She has so many things because of her childhood and her upbringing that she deals with mentally. Trauma, PTSD, the leaders of the crews that she worked on and her own brother, Reen, used to abuse the shit out of her, and now she has trauma and PTSD. She's also very self-conscious and insecure. She has this thing where she'll always like try to blend into the background and not be noticed, you know, probably as a result of the abuse as well. She also has severe trust issues because of that as well. She joins this new crew of thieves full of allomancers, and that's how she learns that she's an allomancer. And she has a very hard time trusting these people. Her brother, Reen, he left her and basically abandoned her and betrayed her. His voice is like in her head. Basically, she hears her brother's voice telling her not to trust people. They're going to betray you. This is going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And so she has a very hard time trusting this new crew. Trauma, PTSD, insecurities, self-consciousness, trust issues. And he does it in such a realistic and a very good representation of what that would be like for someone in real life. And it makes Vin a very complex, very interesting character, and a very sympathetic character that you really want to follow. And then you have Kelsier. Kelsier is the star of the show. He is the best part of this series. He is the best part of this book. Words cannot explain how much I love Kelsier. He's also a Mistborn, right? He is the one that pulls Vin into their crew. And he's this like very mysterious, very like, you know, suave. He has this presence about him. He's larger than life. He's like this natural leader. He discovers Vin. Vin doesn't even know she's Mistborn. He's teaching her all the different rules, teaching her how to use her different powers. And so you have like a bunch of different like, you know, sort of training montages of him like teaching her lessons and stuff. He's the best part of this book. I'm not going to say any more about him than that. He has some of the most memorable quotes in this entire series are from him. The world. There's two natural phenomena that happen on a daily basis in this world. Ash is always falling from the sky. So the streets and the air and the rivers and everything is just piled with ash that the slaves constantly have to shovel out. There's also mists. So when night comes, the entire ground just gets clouded in this mist. It's very cool. It's very mysterious. Really quick, I'm going to go through a couple different of the characters we have. We have Sazed, who's basically like the wise old mentor. He's got a pure heart. He's very sweet. He's Kelsier's steward. He's kind of like Kelsier's servant, that he works for Kelsier. Maybe there's more to him that meets the eye. That's all I'm going to say. Then you have Breeze, who's basically like the comic relief. He's this uppity, high class, you know, sipping his wine kind of guy. He's very intelligent. He's a soother, so he burns brass, soothes people's emotions. You have Hammond. He's the muscle of the group. He's very sweet. He cares very deeply. He's like very philosophical. He's always trying to engage in philosophical conversations. He's what they call a thug, which means he can burn the metal pewter, which basically pewter enhances your physical ability, so it makes you stronger, faster, whatnot. You have Spook, which is this young guy who has this like weird street slang that he's really funny. You have Elend, who is the son of a very rich nobleman, Elend Venture. He plays a big part in this story as well. You have Clubs, who's the grumpy old man. They're the base of operations of this crew. Their like hideout is with this guy because he burns copper, which means that he creates a shield, hides their allomancy from other people. I know I'm throwing a lot at you right now, so I apologize about that. Feel free to ignore a lot of this stuff. Go in blind if you want. That honestly would be the best. And then I already talked about the Lord Ruler. He's basically the villain of the book. He's a tyrant. People think that he's immortal. They see him as this god, even to the point where people use his name in vain, as you would like God. Like instead of saying like, oh my God, people say, Lord Ruler, are you serious? And stuff like that. It's crazy. It's just a great way to show how much power he has over these people. Mistborn is awesome. There's this thing called, that we fans of Brandon like to call the Sanderlanche, which basically the way his stories work is that he'll set all these things up in the beginning, and then you'll go along in the story, and at the end, all these plot lines converge and come together. And there's so many twists in this book, there's so many turns, so many shocking moments, so many awe-inspiring moments that just make you drop your jaw. And like I said, Kelsier is amazing. If there's one reason to read this book, if not for the magic system, then it's Kelsier. He's this charming, charismatic, magnetic personality. But what I love about him is that he's also not the greatest guy. He does some pretty bad things in this book. Even though you're rooting for him, he does some pretty bad stuff. He tends to be very flawed, which I love. I love that he's flawed, and he's not just this Gary Stu where he's just like perfect, Love that about him. Lots of twists and turns. Kelsier's amazing. Ven's a great main character. Wonderful supporting cast. Really quick, before I get into the spoiler section, let me talk about the plot. So basically, what this book is about, this thieving crew, this underground crew of professional thieves made up of different allomancers, a couple of Mistborn, Ven and Kelsier, and then a whole group. Basically, they get together and they plan a heist. They are going to rob and overthrow the Lord Ruler, something that hasn't been done in the 1,000 years that the Lord Ruler has reigned. The way I would describe it, it's like Ocean's 11 in a fantasy world. Like, you wouldn't think those two things would go together. Oh my God, it's so good. Like, the idea of putting a heist like in a fantasy world like this is just so brilliant. I'm a big fan of the show Money Heist on Netflix. It's the Spanish show about these professional criminals that get together to rob like this big Spanish bank led by the professor. The way that they go about like planning and scheming the heist and everything and pulling it, it's so good. Guys, you have to read this book. You gotta read this book, guys. It's so good. Mistborn is so fucking good. Please do yourself a favor. Whatever you're doing right now, drop it. All right? I don't care if you're a EMT saving someone's life. I don't care if you're going through a burning building saving lives. I don't care. Drop it. Drop it all and come read this book. Because if not, you are missing out. Seriously. That's about all I have to say for the non-spoiler section. Once again, before I get into spoilers, please, for the love of God, if you have not read this book, do not continue. Pause. Go read the book. It's about 600 pages. I know it sounds like a lot, but it goes by really quick. It's an easy read. Go read the book, come back, and then listen to me talk in depth with spoilers. All right? Cool? Everybody good? All right. Now, spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. I will be talking in depth about the plot, about certain twists. If you haven't read the book, it's going to ruin it for you. So do not continue. This is the part of the video I'm really excited about because these twists, I'm going to start off with the different twists that are in the story. Obviously, I'm assuming that everyone watching up to this point has read the book already. So let's just talk about the Sanderlanches in this book. Absolutely wonderful. The twist that it was Kelsier's plan all along to die as a martyr at the hands of the Lord Ruler in order to spark a Ska rebellion and get them to overthrow the Lord Ruler. You realize that was his plan the entire time, and that blew my mind. I was like, holy shit. And you go to that warehouse and he finds that letter that explains all of it, and there's an arsenal full of weapons that the rebels are going to use to overthrow the nobles and the Lord Ruler. Oh, what a brilliant twist. It just really cemented Kelsier as an amazing character. Lord Renault, not even a human being. When I read this book for the first time, and I was, reading the scenes with Lord Renault in it, I thought it was so weird just how committed to his character he is. It's like, damn, dude, like this guy's going hard on it. And then you realize he's not even a human. He's a fucking Condra. If you've only read Mistborn and you're watching this and you haven't read the other two, I'm not going to spoil anything. The Condra get a lot more development as it goes on. But yeah, that was really cool. The twist that the Lord Ruler wasn't actually immortal. He was Rashek from Melindy's fucking logbook. So good. So good. The 11th medal, she uses it to see Rashek's past, and she sees him as he was, and that's how she realizes he was Rashek. And they figure out later on that the Lord Ruler was actually just a Feruchemist and a Mistborn, an Allomancer at the same time, and he used those two powers combined to be able to restore his life and constantly stay alive over 1,000 years, which was pretty cool twist. Marsh wasn't dead. We think that Marsh died, and then you realize that he's a fucking Inquisitor. Oh my god, what a great twist. And then when he shows up to the Lord Ruler's, little room at the top of Credit Shaw, and he drops all the spikes on the ground to show that he killed all. Oh, it was brilliant. I was like, oh, fucking way. This is me, like, the last 100 pages of this book. This is me the whole time. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's literally me reading Brandon Sanderson Cosmere book. This isn't much of like a big twist. Learning about Sazed and his abilities. He's not just a regular steward. He's actually a Feruchemist, and he is a keeper of Terrace, which you'll learn a lot more about that later as well. Those are all the twists I can think of. Now I'm just gonna go through some of the great moments that I love about this book, that I think about these moments all the time, or just like great things about it in general. So let's start. The romantic subplot with Vin and Elend, as she is pretending to be Lady Valette in order to infiltrate the noble society. That was a really cool subplot. I love how she was able to deal with a lot of her insecurity and self-consciousness by being, put into that situation. And it was just a great way for her character to develop. And I love how she started to really get into going into the balls and dances and stuff. Oh, but when she meets Elend, I've heard people talk about this book and say, oh, the romantic subplot's not very good. I didn't really care about it. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Dude, they are adorable. Oh my god, from the moment she meets him for the first time on that balcony and he's reading that book. Oh, I was like, oh, this is adorable. I love them together. Their little romantic subplot in this book was absolutely amazing. I wouldn't have traded it for the world. So, yeah, I disagree with all those people that say that. At the very end, the very last line. Here, let me read it. The very last line in the epilogue. Vin is sitting on the rooftop, and she's looking at Elend in his study, and Sanderson makes you think she's about to walk away from this and they're not going to end up together, which, by the way, I was fucking screaming at the book, you guys better end up together. Don't you dare fucking walk away, Vin. Anyways, she starts to walk away, and then she hears Reen's voice in her head say, go back. And then she goes back, she plops it right in front of Elend, and then she says, Elend Venture, she said, standing up. There's something I've been meaning to tell you for some time. She blinked away her tears. You read too much, especially in the presence of ladies. He smiled, throwing back his chair and grabbing her arm in a firm embrace, then closed her eyes, simply feeling the warmth of being held, and realized that was all she had ever really wanted. I'm literally about to get tears just reading this. Oh, God, that was perfect. So perfect. Oh, that was all she ever really wanted. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The moment when Kelsier and Vin sneak into Credit Shaw, the Lord Ruler's palace, in the middle of the night in the rain to try to see what's in there. Super impulsive move by Kelsier. Super dumb, impulsive move. That's one of the flaws I was talking about. That's another one of his flaws too, is he's very impulsive. And sometimes he has too much confidence and thinks he can do shit like that, and he almost gets Vin killed. That was a pretty good moment, and that was when Sazed swoops in and saves Vin's life, and that's how he reveals about all his powers and stuff. Kelsier's final battle with the Inquisitor in the middle of the town square in front of thousands of people. Oh, just what a brilliantly written and designed action scene. The moment when the cage that was holding the people was flung at Kelsier or something like that, and he goes inside the cage and he's pushing against each of the bars of metal perfectly to keep himself floating. Oh, how brilliant was that? And then when he fucking chops that motherfucker's head off. Oh, so good. So fucking good. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Absolutely brilliant. Kelsier's, when he has his final encounter with the Lord Ruler and he realizes that the 11th metal isn't going to work and he's going to die, Kelsier says, I am the thing you can never kill. no matter how hard you try. I am hope. Ooh. And then Lord Ruler kills him. By the way, Kelsier dies. Yeah. That was shocking. I was shocked. I cannot believe they actually killed this guy in the first book. I'm thinking, man, I can't wait to see what he does in the rest of the series. No, he's dead. But he died in the coolest way. Gets a spear thrown at him, and I love the fact that he makes a little note at the end about how he still has a smile on his face, even as he's dead. Because he knows what he just did. His death just sealed the Lord Ruler's fate. He knew that people were going to rebel now. That was fucking awesome. Vin's face off with the Lord Ruler at the end, killing him, driving a fucking stake through his head. Oh, yeah. Absolutely brilliant. Her drawing upon the power of the mists. The executions in the town square, the brutal beheadings of random people that first time that they did it. I was like, what the fuck? Lord Ruler's just like, yeah, I'm just going to whip my dick out and flex in front of these people to show them that I literally have no regard for human life whatsoever. And he's just over here slashing heads off with fucking axes, blood, gushing into the fountain, turning it red. It's like, whoa, that came out of left field. The second execution that didn't end up being an execution, Kelsier's final words to Vin before he dies, when he tells her, she's like trying to stop him from going out and fighting him. He's like, you still don't get it, do you? There's a lot of things you have to learn about friendship, or something like that. It was really, really great the way he said it. And then Kelsier jumps up in the air, lands in the middle of the town square on a knee, basically ready to arm wrestle with the fucking Steel Inquisitor and the Lord Ruler. So badass. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I have to say. I'm going to do a review on Well of Ascension next. That should be fun. Because I also love that book very much as well. Oh yeah, rating system. I'm gonna be rating books out of 10, and the different increments are gonna be 0.25 increments. So, Mistborn, this might change because it is my first rating for my first book review. I don't know how I'm gonna be rating others. I decided to give this book a 9.25 out of 10. My heart wanted to say 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, but I gotta leave room for books that eventually I know are gonna be much better. It might even get knocked down a little bit. I wanted to rate it a 10 because this book is absolutely perfect. This book is absolutely wonderful, an amazing experience from beginning to end, from cover to cover. Oh, get it? It's my channel name. Anyways, that was my Mistborn review. Let me know what you guys think about any of my opinions. Are they good? Are they bad? Whatever. Give me a shout. Leave a comment if you want. Let's talk. That's why I'm here, so I can find people to talk to about this shit. I don't have anybody to talk to about this shit, especially not something like Mistborn. Nobody I know reads Mistborn, or Sanderson for that matter. Well, that's it for me. Thank you guys for tuning in, and keep reading.